Hi there, my name is Nicole Miller. I'm reporting here tonight from China. I did do quite a bit of research on the LGBTQ and special needs and LEP education. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information to find domestically and even less to find on my school and or province. So I went ahead and did this research project on the Mukilteo School District, which is in Washington State, and compared that to Olympic View Middle School. This is the district I went to school in and the middle school that I attended. So I do have a little bit of background knowledge in the area, and my folks still reside in that district. So I figured it would be interesting to do a little bit of digging on something that I have some experience with. So let's go ahead and jump right in here. I wanted to first and foremost compare the district enrollment here, ethnic divide of each of these different categories compared to, of course, Olympic View, OV is what we would call it for short. And, there's not a big discrepancy among the different ethnicities between the district and the school. I guess there's percent more of a Caucasian population, but this American Indian, just like barely sliver less than 0.5% is the same here. And the Asian population is, within a percentage as well. Same for the Black population, is less than 0.5%. So there's not a huge discrepancy between those two comparisons. I do want to make a special note here of the two or more, this purple group, two or more ethnicities. And so here we've got about 10%, and then over here at OV we've got just shy of 8%. And I want to make note of that because here we can look at the two or more, and OV has a huge percentage more students that are considered to be, in this special needs or disabled category. So that was pretty interesting and stuck out to me. One more thing I wanted to look at was, go back here for a second, was the Asian population. So here we're at 14%, and here we're at 13%. And I wanted to make a comparison here. Our Asian population, again, is a lot higher for OV. The number of students, while their population percentage isn't that different between the school and the district, is quite a bit higher when we're looking at these special needs kiddos. So those are a couple of things that stuck out to me. I also wanted to do more, go back one more here, the American Indian population, which is just, it's barely even on this pie chart here, right? About 0.5% for both of them. And then if we do a jump back over here to this, look at this, 5% of the kids in the district are classified in this special needs category, which was just, that's really interesting to me that such a high percentage of a very low percentage of population would fall under this category. So let's go ahead and jump to the next slide here, and here is a comparison between of course, this is again the same district pie chart with the ethnicities, and then over here we have how those kids are classified in the LEP department. So, this isn't too surprising here that the Caucasian population, there's a relatively low percentage, a significant percentage, but compared to 40% breakdown in population, we all assume that most of the Caucasian white kids are pretty fluent in English. I think what was interesting here is that there's a huge Hispanic jump. We have almost pushing 60% of the kids in the LEP enrollment are Hispanic. Though I suppose with the number of immigrants coming from Mexico and Central America, it's not too surprising that so many of those kids would have some language barriers. Then I wanted to look down at the breakdown for the school and compare that to the district separations. So here we have our Hispanic population, which is pretty high again. And I also thought it was really interesting that the Caucasian population is significantly higher at OV for some reason. If we go back, we're at 17% for the district and almost 30% for OV of the Caucasian kids who are on the LEP statistics. And also, I wanted to kind of point out here this Nation Islander, Pacific Islander population, this green sliver. Here it's 5%, which is quite a bit higher than quite a bit higher than the district percentage, almost double. So that seemed interesting to me, and I'm not quite sure why the Pacific Islander population at OV would have a higher number of students with lower language abilities. But I did think that was something interesting to point out. Now I wanted to look at a side-by-side comparison. And here we have the school district, Mocktail District, and then we have our OV, the Olympic View Pipes. So this is just an easier way for me to compare the different ethnic breakdowns. So on a district-wide level, we have a larger Hispanic population, but at OV, we have a much higher Caucasian population. There's nothing significant about the American Indians or the Asian populations. So I do kind of wonder why OV has a much higher percentage of Caucasians. I wonder if some of that has to do with the cost of housing and the job opportunities are available in that area, just the way the district is separated. My personal experiences with OV is that it was predominantly white, but we did have, every color in the rainbow students. So it's interesting to see how things have changed since I was a student there. And we've been reading a lot about and discussing a lot about gender disparities this week, specifically in Cambodia and India. And that got me kind of looking at some of the district data relative to harassment. On the left here, we have the number of students who reported being harassed or experiencing harassment. And on the right side, we have a number of students who were disciplined for harassment. A few things that really caught my eye here, we've been reading about and looking at sources like the India census data where, females with disabilities are 2-3 times more likely to be victims of physical or sexual abuse. And let's just look at these numbers really quickly here. Female Asian population, 2 of them reported being harassed. Female Black, same number here too. Female whites, 2 of them reported being harassed. And then we have the disability students, 2 of them. So it's an equal proportionate number of students, yet all female who are being reported as experiencing harassment. The same 2 more LEP students, but not a huge significant. It's a gender separation rather than an ethnicity separation. So that's interesting. And then we look at the other side to see who's doing the harassing. 5 male Hispanic students were disciplined within the district for harassment. We do have a couple of white females, which is interesting to me. And then even a couple of male students with disabilities in both categories. Another thing that we had been reading a lot about was India has a large dropout rate for females in school. Of course, they have a lower percentage of females to males attending, and in this district, it's almost 50-50. And then, of course, in puberty is what we read, that's when the dropout rate really skyrockets. We talked about a lot of different reasons for that, about them needing to be home to care for younger siblings or the household, or not feeling that their education is valuable because they're going to marry outside the family, a whole slew of reasons that we looked at this week. But it got me looking into absenteeism in the Mukilteo School District, and there isn't a lot of data in fact, I couldn't find any data that was related to gender. Here we have the chronically absent student enrollment versus chronically absent students. So a couple of figures that were interesting are the Caucasian kids. 8.5% of those guys are chronically absent. Again, this is not a gender separation, which was disappointing, and maybe also in and of itself why we're not tracking absenteeism by gender, but rather by ethnicity. Hispanics are the second most chronically absent batch of students here, and then followed by the LEP and the disabled section, 504 IEP students. And I kind of was wondering why we don't track the gender absenteeism as closely as we do in other countries. It was a much bigger topic of conversation, and I wonder if we just have, generally speaking, a wider ethnic variety of students and people in the United States, whereas China is mostly Chinese people and India is predominantly an Indian population. And while they have different minority populations that have been ranked, it's not quite the same as comparing a Hispanic to an Asian to a Black to a Caucasian student. So that was just something that I had thought noteworthy, and I guess I don't know why there's not a lot of gender data in the U.S. So I really had to dig deeper to learn a little bit more about the gender disparity. Here are some gender statistics that I was able to dig up, and this is in relation to suspension. This is the Mukilteo School District data collection. And here, these are the non-disabled students receiving out-of-school suspension, categorized by race, and then, of course, blue is male and green is female. And you can see across the board here, statistically, it's more men, significantly more male students who are being suspended. I wanted to compare that down here. Here we have the disabled students, same separation by race, ethnicity, but look at it, 50% of the American Indian population, look at, my cursor keeps putting up my menu here, but if you are American Indian male or a Black female, you are significantly more likely as a disabled student to experience out-of-school suspension. I don't know if this is just a small population size, so the data is easily skewed, but these are just staggering figures. As a Black female with disability status, you're significantly more likely to be suspended in this particular school district anyway. So that's something that also stuck out to me here. I did find this gender and disabled students category here for the district data again. And what's interesting here is that over each and every single category, it's more male students who are being diagnosed with some sort of disability. Now, with the population being about equal male to female, and it's really striking that there's this significant jump in the percentage of male students diagnosed. And this is the only gender data I could find, but it is staggering figures. So I wonder what would happen if we tracked some of these other categories by gender, and would we see differences this large? Here I've got some references. All the data I used for the project were collected from the Civil Rights Data Collection, the 2015 census, and then, of course, some references to what we've been reading about this week in Cambodia and India, And this was an insightful project that got me to dig a lot deeper in the Wacopee School District. And thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed.